Lefties on TikTok are melting down over the looming ban on the app, a Republican governor doesn't understand free speech, and a non-binary TikToker takes us on her hair journey. All that and so much more is coming up on today's episode of Brad vs. Everyone, my new daily series where I cover all the craziest stuff on the internet and our politics from a center-right, independent perspective. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and stick around, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're a returning viewer, and comment with your thoughts as we go along, because I'll pick a couple of your comments to read in the next episode. Now, let's head over to the Clock app and see how they're coping with the fact that President Biden just signed a bipartisan bill to effectively ban TikTok in 9 months to 12 months, unless legal challenges stretch it out a little bit longer than that. But TikTok is on borrowed time, and Gen Z's not taking it well. So we'll get into the CEO of TikTok's response to the ban, and we'll discuss some more of the substance of this move. But first, honestly, just for entertainment value, I want to play you guys a couple TikToks of people freaking out over this because it is funny.
The 100 old ass wrinkly who make up the United States Senate, count your days. Because I am pulling up to all 100 of your homes, and I am unplugging your ventilators. Good luck breathing without your machine, you old wrinkly Hate it here.
Babe, put down the crack pipe. Now look, I know he's kidding. Or at least I'm like 99% sure he's kidding, and so this isn't a real threat. So I'm not taking it seriously on that part, but quite the reaction from a huge TikTok influencer we've got there to the ban that was just signed. Many of the TikTok influencers are specifically going after President Biden, which is interesting because young people were traditionally a big part of his supporter base.
Joseph Maurice Ekinsu Biden, you can kiss my mother through these Fashion Nova jeans. Why the would you sign that TikTok bill? You're doing everything that you're not supposed to do. The American people is not going to stand for it. We don't appreciate it at all. Hell no, we won't go. Stop lying on the Chinese. They not worried about our data. I just got off the phone with Chun-Li. The that she ain't checking for us at all. Something in DC have been reeking of piss. And I think it's time to exchange that pamper.
Y'all, why is it the gays doing the absolute most in response to this? They all need to calm down, okay? I understand they're very upset about their favorite app, and I will admit it gives me a little bit of entertainment value because I do think TikTok, in my own view, is kind of a terrible platform in some ways. In some ways, I think it's good, but in other ways, I think it's terrible and toxic. And many of these TikTokers, maybe not these two individuals, but just in general, a lot of big TikTok personalities have very much supported cancel culture and tried to get other people deleted or censored that they didn't like. So, I must admit, their tears are a little bit delicious when they're about to get deleted. But I actually don't think they need to be worried. I think that this can and will be struck down in court as a First Amendment violation. You don't have to take my word for it. That's what everybody from the ACLU to the Knight Foundation to the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression are all saying about this bill. Because while Chinese companies don't really have the same rights that we would in other situations here in the US, the 100 million plus users of TikTok in America do have a First Amendment right to communicate and express themselves and receive information on this platform that they love. And in order for the ban to be upheld, they would have to show that this was the least restrictive way to address the data security concerns. And it's just not. They could have tried to pass data security regulations. They could continue to take what I think are reasonable steps, like prohibiting the use of TikTok on government devices or by government employees or other things. There's so much they could have done, but they just went straight to 100, to a divest bill that's really a ban because, as you'll hear the TikTok CEO get at in just a sec, they aren't allowed to sell TikTok's algorithm under the export controls that China has in place, so it's just a ban. Here's what the CEO of TikTok has had to say.
Make no mistake, this is a ban. A ban on TikTok and a ban on you and your voice. Politicians may say otherwise, but don't get confused. Many who sponsored the bill admit a TikTok ban is the ultimate goal. It's actually ironic because the freedom of expression on TikTok reflects the same American values that make the United States a beacon of freedom. It's obviously a disappointing moment, but it does not need to be a defining one. Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts.
So I will just start by pointing out that what he said there is true. Many of the lawmakers who introduced this bill openly said in their press releases introducing it, this is a ban on TikTok. The divestiture thing is a smokescreen and a talking point that's not really based in reality. And I'm glad to hear that TikTok will be challenging this in court because I'm simply not comfortable with any president having the power to unilaterally, remember guys, this doesn't just apply to TikTok. It creates this power going forward to unilaterally ban any website or app that is connected to, in pretty vague terms, a hostile foreign country. This creates a power that is really, I think, ripe for abuse and very disturbing to see the executive be granted into perpetuity. And I don't want to see thousands of Americans lose their livelihoods, thousands of small businesses be ruined, and millions of Americans deprived of their preferred method to communicate and express themselves. No matter how you personally feel about TikTok, guys, you shouldn't be on board with this. But that's just my take. I'm always open to people disagreeing, so don't forget to hit that like button if you're finding this interesting so far, and comment and let me know your thoughts below. Alright guys, now it's time to head over to Texas and talk about the governor there, Greg Abbott, who seems to need a remedial lesson on free speech and the First Amendment. Because these tweets from the Texas governor are disturbingly constitutionally illiterate. The context here that you need to understand is that there have been all these protests / encampments, sort of, going on college campuses against Israel and its war in Gaza and all of that. And at the University of Texas, Austin, they cracked down on the protests very aggressively using police force. Many people were arrested and others were injured, including some journalists. Now, this itself is concerning from a free speech standpoint, but is potentially defensible if, and we need to wait till we know more facts, if these people were breaking rules or breaking laws or their actions, for example, blocking people from accessing public spaces, trespassing, you can't just take over and live on a piece of public land. If their actions were crossing the line and weren't protected speech, then you could justify, potentially, using law enforcement to remove them. But what's disturbing about the context here is the things that the governor of Texas has been saying about all this, which really do seem to suggest a total disregard or misunderstanding for the First Amendment. Governor Abbott tweeted, "Arrests being made right now and will continue until the crowd disperses. These protesters belong in jail. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated in Texas, period. Students joining in hate-filled anti-Semitic protests at any public college or university in Texas should be expelled." The tweet we just saw is basically indistinguishable from the lefty progressive hate speech isn't free speech argument that we've all been disagreeing with on the right for years. Critics like former Libertarian Congressman Justin Amash pointed this out, saying, according to Governor Abbott's own post, he's violating the First Amendment. A governor can't lawfully arrest people for protesting or for hate speech. If he's arresting them for other reasons, then he should say so. If he's arresting them for their speech, then he's violating the law, and his actions threaten everyone in the state, including everyone he claims to be protecting. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression said, the chilling show of force at the University of Texas at Austin is a disproportionate response to an apparently peaceful protest. Sending in a phalanx of law enforcement threatens protected speech where it should be at its most free, a public university like UT Austin. Unfortunately, Governor Abbott's public commentary makes his disregard for the First Amendment's protection of political speech clear. And these critics do have a point. If these students are all being arrested for breaking rules or breaking laws or for their actions, then say so and make that explicitly clear. But don't arrest students in nebulous circumstances and then say that they should all be arrested or expelled for hate speech, basically, for anti-Semitic, which is inherently subjective and up for debate. What counts as that? Acts or protests or demonstrations. Because here's the thing, Governor Greg Abbott might need to pick up his constitution and reread it because public colleges are bound by the First Amendment. They can't expel students because they don't like their opinions, even if those opinions are genuinely hateful towards Jewish people. And that's exactly how anyone who believes in free speech and a free society should want things to be. After all, if Texas public universities can expel students on the far left for what they call anti-Semitism and Jew hate, and maybe it is that, I'm not even arguing that, that, right? But if they can expel them for that kind of hate speech, well, guess what? Public colleges in California, they can expel conservative students for transphobia if they won't use pronouns. They can do whatever they want. They can say that advocating against immigration is racism. So if you participate in a Build the Wall protest, boom, you're expelled. Is that really what Republican lawmakers want to be supporting and endorsing? And how can anybody who says they support free speech and the Constitution and limited government be comfortable with such a prominent Republican official talking like this and taking this stance? It's honestly really concerning to me, but to be honest with you, I'm not super shocked by it because our politics and our political system is rife with hypocrisy. It's rife with people who have double standards, and Governor Greg Abbott seems to be one of those people. Because here he is talking about free speech a few years ago, and we'll contrast that to what he's saying now.
Some colleges are banning free speech on college campuses. Well, no more, because I'm about to sign a law that protects free speech on college campuses in Texas. Shouldn't have to do it. First Amendment guarantees it. Now, it's law in Texas.
So which is it, Greg? Do you support free speech or do you support censoring hate speech like a liberal progressive? Because right now, your math isn't mathing, and your inconsistency is coming at the expense of Texans' constitutional rights. No matter how people feel about this conflict, no matter what your opinions are on the merits of any of this speech, whether you think it's hateful, whether you think it's not, we should all condemn what Governor Abbott is saying on free speech principles and consistency alone. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying today's episode, and maybe even consider subscribing and sticking around. Now, it's time for DELULU Epidemic, my segment where I call out people who are letting their stupid show. Today, woke Twitter has turned on Taylor Swift? So I always thought liberals liked Taylor Swift, and I think most of them do, but apparently if you go to the really far left, they start hating her actually. One woke person tweeted, "If you like Taylor Swift, we have nothing in common. She's a billionaire racist who uses the word torture as a metaphor during a genocide. 31 vapid, rotted songs about a racist dude, nothing about Palestine. As we watch real torture, Nazi Barbie wants to live in the 1830s. Bye." Bro, what? I'm not even some huge Taylor Swift fan. I mean, I like some of her music, but I've criticized her on stuff in the past. I certainly don't agree with everything she says or does, or just, I'm not a Taylor shill, right? But this is just DELULU and unhinged. Nazi Barbie? What? And how can you say that she wants to live in the 1830s when she's kind of like a girl boss feminist type and openly advocates for LGBT rights, in fact? Also, why are you saying she's racist? There's no evidence of that. There's no reason for that. That's just slander. And again, the far left just dilutes the power of these words by throwing them around like candy on Halloween. Also, I'm so sick of this expectation that celebrity pop singers should be weighing in on complex questions of geopolitics. Actually, I like that Taylor Swift knows her place and isn't out here lecturing us about one side or the other in the Israel-Hamas conflict. It's okay to just be a pop star and make pop music. Not everything has to be political, because not everybody suffers from this kind of brain rot. Woke Twitter, your DELULU is showing. Alright guys, it's time for Brad versus TikTok, my segment where I react to the craziest and cringiest videos from the Clock app while it's still here. Before it gets banned, maybe not in the future. Who knows? We'll see. Today, we're joining a non-binary TikToker on her hair journey to learn about her marginalized experience and her unique struggle. Buckle up, prepare to lose some brain cells. Don't forget to hit that like button, and now let's take a look at what she had to say.
Let's talk about hair as a non-binary individual who has alopecia and also has sensory issues. Yes, I know that is a lot.
I mean, appreciate the self-awareness at least.
Hi, I'm Dee, my pronouns are they, them, I'm non-binary. I also have alopecia, and luckily right now I'm not going through an alopecia spike. I've actually had a lot of hair recovery, which is amazing. But I'm also undiagnosed autistic / neurodivergent, so I get really bad sensory when my hair hits certain stages of length.
I don't know if you should be claiming to be those things if you haven't been diagnosed them. Those are actually pretty complicated medical situations, and you should have an expert confirm that. You shouldn't be evaluating yourself on BuzzFeed quizzes or whatever it is that you've done. It kind of takes away from people who do have these conditions and have been diagnosed with them if you're, speculating that you might have them and claiming that identity. Not sure that's great to do.
Such as the one it's in right now. On top of sensory overload, I also have gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia. And when my hair hits a certain level, I don't like her. She makes me uncomfortable.
Are we referring to your hair as a she, her? So you're a they, them, but your hair is a she, her. Baby girl, the math isn't mathing.
But I am really trying my best to grow my hair out, to have long, luscious hair as a non-binary individual, because your hair length does not equal your gender identity. But I'm struggling because I'm at that point where I want to cut my hair because it's touching places I don't like and it's just making me feel dysphoric. As I said, I am non-binary and I also have gender dysphoria, and a lot of my dysphoria has always revolved around my hair. For as long as I can remember, my hair has been a huge part of me that makes me feel dysphoric, or a huge part of me that makes me feel good. If I'm having a good hair day, I'm going to have a good day in general. If my hair is not playing ball that day, I'm not going. I have been known to not go to events because my hair is making me so uncomfortable.
So it'd be easy to laugh at or mock this person, but I really don't want to do that. First, alopecia can be a struggle. I'm sorry you're going through that. I know a lot of people can relate. I'm glad that it seems to be doing better, like you mentioned. But to be clear though, if your hair and discomfort over your hair is stopping you from going out in public or doing basic adult functioning, I'm not saying this to be mean, right? You actually need to get help. That's actually a serious problem. And TikTok isn't the place to go, just using it as an open diary to the world to get people to, shower you with sympathy. You need to get professional help because that is not a condition or a state that you should be in mentally and emotionally as a full-grown adult woman.
But also a few years ago, I actually had my first ever alopecia spike, as I call it. So I have alopecia where I lose small patches of my hair. But unfortunately, with alopecia and the alopecia I have, I will probably have this for the rest of my life. When it first happened, I was obviously so upset. I was so dysphoric. I hated how I looked, and it was just the worst experience ever. I was a young individual at the time. I wasn't out as non-binary, and my hair was everything to me because it allowed me to hide from the world in a sense, as well as, feel myself. Luckily, my hair grew back, which is very common with the alopecia that I have. But unfortunately, it will always come back, and when it comes back even worse. So when I had my next alopecia spike, which was in 2023, it was bad. There was more patches than there had ever been before. At this time, I had just shaved my head for the very first time, and it was just, I hated having a shaved head. I know some people love it, I hate it on myself. And then having alopecia on top of that, I had to hide my hair and my head quite a lot, so I wore a lot of hats and bandanas in this phase of my hair journey. I feel really dysphoric because I didn't really know who I was. I didn't feel comfortable in who I was. I didn't feel like my hair aligned with my gender identity.
Oh gosh. I didn't feel like my hair aligned with my gender identity. I really don't know what that means. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I just feel like it's fine for males or females, or both the two sexes, to have any kind of hair, and it doesn't actually determine their gender. But I haven't been on a hair journey, so I don't know, maybe I'm missing something.
Then luckily my hair started growing back and I decided I'm going to grow my hair out, and we are at this stage now from a shaved head in 2023. I absolutely love having a fringe. A fringe for me is so comforting. It feels so empowering, but it also feels so gender.
Huh? Maybe I'm not getting it because I don't know what a fringe is, but what does that mean? Feel so gender. Love her little accent there too. And no guys, I'm not doing the they them pronouns because it's not a real thing. It's just an ideology based on false and actually kind of sexist and regressive gender stereotypes. And there are two sexes. There are males and there are females, and there's extremely rare conditions where people are intersex, but that's not relevant here. And then there are some people with gender dysphoria who are one sex but want to live and present as the other, and I've always been perfectly happy to accommodate them, call them whatever they want, use the pronouns they prefer, but I'm not going to indulge this non-binary nonsense that is just basically a personality fad masquerading as a new gender identity and inadvertently reinforcing regressive, sexist ideas about gender expectations. I can't be a girl because I don't like having long hair. Actually, babe, you are a girl, and it's fine to be a girl who has short hair and looks butch and isn't traditionally feminine. You don't have to be a they, them. It's okay to be a girl and be different. And if you're arguing otherwise, you're not actually the progressive one, my friend. Anyway, let's go back and try to finish this one up.
I feel so non-binary with my fringe, and yes, I look like I work in Lush, but I love that. And having the colourful hair at the front is something that I speak about in another video, but being able to have pink hair just feels like such a moment for me as somebody who told themselves they wasn't allowed to have pink, they wasn't allowed to go near anything femme or girl coded because I was non-binary and I had to be androgynous. It feels amazing to be able to reclaim little girly things or things that are girl coded, such as this silly little thing that I'm obsessed with.
You don't see it yet? You don't see your own sexism creeping out, your internalized sexism? You're saying that liking pink is girly. What are we? On the playground? Are we 8 years old? I wear pink. I like pink. Pink is a cool, bright color, and I'm still a man. And there's nothing inherently feminine about wearing pink or liking pink. And again, you sound like a regressive sex stereotypes person, and yet you think you're on like the cutting edge of gender, but you're just not, babe. Oh my god.
My hair started growing out and I decided, okay, how can I make it into a hairstyle that feels gender affirming, that feels non-binary, that feels neutral, that feels androgynous, that feels all these kind of things. And I've fallen on this haircut, a blunt front fringe with some little side pieces, a shaved undercut, and that's it. And I absolutely adore my hair at the moment. And of course I still have bad days when I haven't dyed my hair recently. I still feel a bit bad, or crap I should say, about my hair.
I don't want you to feel bad, and I think there's nothing wrong with your appearance. But I don't want you to be in DELULU land and think that you look like a third gender. You just look like a girl with short hair that's dyed pink. Because that's what you are. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's you, if that's how you express yourself, power to you. But again, it doesn't make you this magical, special, unicorn third thing. And it's not to be lumped in with genuine people who struggle from gender dysphoria, or gay people like myself who, we're not really born this way. It's more complicated than that, but we love who we love and we can't change it. Your personality fad, your attempt to join in on the oppression Olympics is not synonymous with us. It's not akin to us. And you're actually discrediting us by trying to lump yourself in with us. No, thank you. No, thank you.
But on most days I absolutely love my hair, and I do love this blend of the girly pink with a front fringe, but then the harsh undercut. I just think it's the perfect non-binary haircut for me, and I absolutely love it. But the last thing from me in terms of hair, as I said before, hair length does not equal your gender identity.
Okay, so hair length doesn't equal your gender identity, but also you found the perfect non-binary haircut. Make it make sense.
But I totally understand if you feel dysphoric about your hair length and don't feel yourself with your hair length. I'm at that point where I just need it to grow, or I need to cut it all off, and I'm going to grow it. I will. Hair can mean a lot for non-binary and trans individuals, but also neurodivergent individuals. Hair can make us feel great, or hair can make us feel absolutely terrible. So do whatever feels right for you to make you feel comfortable and make you feel euphoric and joyful.
That was rough, y'all. That was rough. Right now, what would make me feel euphoric and joyful is to close out of the browser that I have her up in and never, ever, ever view any content from her page or about her hair journey ever again. You're welcome. I know you sick people out there, you little devils, you enjoy this. You enjoy watching me suffer. You enjoy watching me lose brain cells in real time, and you're munching your popcorn wherever you are, laughing at me and my suffering and my pain. So I hope you feel good about that. Hope that you sleep good at night. That's a really good Christian way to laugh at my suffering, huh? Isn't it? The things I do for you all. Anyway, I'll leave it there for Brad versus TikTok for today. If you got a kick out of this, don't forget to hit that like button. Comment with your thoughts. What do you think about this woman's hair journey? And maybe even consider subscribing and sticking around. Now, before we wrap up today's show, I'll go over a couple comments that you guys left on yesterday's episode. One person wrote, "Is there any way to replace the brain cells I lost hearing these TikTok ladies try to navigate through topics like economics? I feel dumber after watching them than I did going in. I feel your pain now." No. There is no recovery. Once the brain cells are gone, they're gone for good. And mine are dwindling. We are dwindling. Another person wrote, TikTok kid, just don't let it inflate. Secretary of the Treasury, everyone get your ass in here. I've got a TikTok to show you. Yeah, I love these kids. It's like, they really think they've stumbled on like the new theory of gravity or something. Like, no, wow, nobody thought about that before. What if we just printed more money? What if we just didn't let it inflate? Yes, TikTok chick. I'm sure nobody's ever thought about that before. Another person wrote, hey Brad, I love your content. You would be incredible in office. Have you considered at all? If you like my content, why do you hate me? Why do you want me to suffer in the terrible political system and probably be a useless pawn who barely gets to vote on stuff because everything is controlled by the establishment and by leadership? Meanwhile, I would get constantly misquoted or taken out of context or smeared by mainstream media. And then even right-wing media and other Republicans would get mad at me for my moderate takes on social stuff. So I think I'm good, at least for now, but thank you. All right, everybody, that's it for today's episode of Brad versus Everyone, my new daily series. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it interesting, and you must have if you're still here, come on now. Don't forget to hit that like button, comment with your thoughts, even if it's just to boost the algorithm, and maybe even consider subscribing and sticking around, or maybe even turning on those bell notifications. With that, I'll see you all tomorrow.